I'm here to talk about creating a frame photo. You've got this photo, let's say you really like it, you want to frame it. The unfortunate thing is you can't buy a stock frame. I'm trying to show you a way of doing something economically to fit into a standard, let's say 8 by 10 frame. I'm just going to shrink this down just a little bit. And what it is here, I'm going to go into the size, image, size. 6, I want to put in like an 8 by 10 frame. So I want to put what it is. We're going to put this on a tinted background or a colored background. That way it will fit in the frame. So let's make it about 8.5 inches wide. It's 300 pixels here. What we're going to do, we're going to create a new 8 by 10, or I should say 10 by 8. So I make it 10, 8, and then I'll make it 300. And I'm just going to make it a plain white background for this point here. So we've got this picture here, and I've got this here. What we can do here, there's a couple of things we could do. If you want to turn this into something really fancy, you could do a lot of things here. Let's keep it simple right now. I just click and drag this into here. I'm on the move tool. This will fit into a standard 8 by 10 frame. We don't like the color here. I'm just going to go into the background here. If I want to color it, I click on a color that I want. Like I click here, this chooses colors here. And you can just click inside here and choose any color that you like. What I often do is just go into web colors here. It breaks it down a lot better. And you can make a choice here. And let's say I really wouldn't want a green. I could go over here and we can experiment a bit. I'll say OK. And then I go into the paint bucket or hit the letter G here. And it would be right there, paint bucket. I'm doing this in Photoshop CS6. I click inside here. Ooh, that's a little too bright. Okay. What we can do at this point here, we can make it a little more less transparent. It's locked right now. I just double click, hit the enter key. I could change the opacity a bit. And you get that grid behind it. What I could do, I could add a new layer behind it, pull it down, and I can make it white. Fill it in. I'm on that layer there. So it's showing you what it is. I really don't like that color. And we could change it to, we just flip on this thing here, that curly arrow. And I could just go into, let's say, a dark grayish color. I could shut this off here, where I can get a little more subtle and go here. And we have that. Not the greatest thing here. I'll do one more choice. I'll make it a darker. So we got that. We'll pretend that we like it. And what we could do is we could center this on here. Pretty easy to do. We go back into the move tool or hit the letter V. I click on this layer here. Hold the control key or the command key. I have it there. And then I can go into the centering here. Up there. And over here. And what I typically do, I'm going to deselect. Should be a little bit higher. You could also put a drop shadow on the picture, which can be very nice. It can make it look pretty good here. So I'm going to go to layer, layer style. I could have preset ones here. I could say bevel and emboss. I'll pull this in here. It's showing the effect already. I could pull it into here. So I've got that there. I can go into contour and I can increase that, decrease it. I have it on preview here. And then I could also go into drop shadow and I could choose a color for the drop shadow. I can make it like a similar shade in there. I could extend it out a bit. I'm being a little overly dramatic. I shouldn't do that. But I'm just trying to show you the effects. Ooh, too much. Okay. So you got that. And what I can do, if I'm doing a bunch of photos here, you have the styles over here. I could say new style. And I could just call it landscape border. And then I say OK. and it shows up over here as landscape border if you see the little tooltip there. You can also texturize this background here. It looks a little bland. You could also put another photo that you found in Google Images or in Bing or whatever here. I'd prefer to keep it a little bit, what's the word, neutral. You don't want it to compete. Last thing here, I click on filter. And then what I can do here, they have this thing called render. You can do a few things here. Some of them can be pretty bad. I was on the wrong layer. Woo. Click over here. Filter. Render. If I go into difference clouds, I could retint it. It's really not that bad, believe it or not. I'll undo. I'll do filter. Render. Fibers. It's picking up the color differences over here. And then I can make it bigger. Strength. And let's say I like it like this. I could say OK. And the other thing too is, let's say I do like it. I could tint it. I could go into Colorize. I did Control or Command U. Colorize. And I can get it to match or not match. I have it like that. I could saturate it. Let's just keep this a little tasteful. So you got that. And the other thing you can do here, it's a little bit too grainy. You could go into here. I go into filter. I go into blur. I do Gaussian blur. And then I can pull this out. And you can see it's fuzzying it out here. That's a little bit too fuzzy here. But I have that there. I have that. And then I could also apply another thing on top of it. If I go into, let's say, filter, render. You've got the clouds and the difference clouds here. There's a bunch of things you can experiment with. Just delete the layer if you don't like it. If I go into lighting effects, we'll see what that does. It brings up a thing here. And it's really not that interesting for this. But I can put a spotlight on there. And I'm just going to hit the escape. Last thing I will do, I will go filter, render, and you've got the fibers, which you did here. I could go into clouds, override what's in there. You can apply different effects there. And then I could again colorize it a little bit more. See, the colors are changing because we change things on here. But you just do a little experiment. Make it dark. Make it light. I click on the colorize. I didn't click on that yet. And you could go here and make it a brown. But when it kind of works like that, you could say, okay. So we could pretend that we really love this picture. A couple of additions that I will say here. If you are going to frame this, you could buy a stock 8x10 frame at the local department store for probably less than $20, sometimes $4 or $5, or even at a thrift shop. You got to remember, this is exactly 8x10. The aperture in a lot of frames is less. It could be a 7.5 by a 9.5 opening. So if you were doing that, and I want to go and put this in the frame here, I could go into image, image size. I could change this. I can make it 9.5. It's got the constraints in here. I say OK. That way I have the proportions. So that way if I print it out, it goes into the frame. You could even sign it at the bottom if you want. Make sure you use the right type of pen. So good luck creating your masterpiece that you could frame. Give it as a gift to anybody on your list.